I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From 186 with Laura. What have you been reading? I've been reading a lot of comics. I'm not gonna show them all to you here. And this poetry collection by Daniel Simpson, School for the Blind. Um, Thank you, Daniel. And I have been working through lots of books that have been given to me, which has been a joy. And when I went to the library to pick up a book, they were like, "Oh, we haven't seen you in a while," because usually I'm there all the time, because I love the library. And let me see, Laura. Let's invite Laura. Mm-hmm. Oh, I've accepted you, and here you are. Hi,
Hello.
Laura. What a beautiful background. Are you outside, or is that fooling me?
Oh, I am outside.
Amazing.
I realized the dog would probably bark in the middle if I stayed in my living room.
Yes. That's why I'm in my child's bedroom always, because I can close the door. Otherwise, there's distractions. So, wow, it's gorgeous where you are.
Front yard,
Oh,
our Japanese maple, it turns red.
it's lovely. Um, how are you?
I am good. How are you today?
I've been, as good as I think one can be right now.
Yeah, I hear that.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you. These poems are a real source of joy for me, and connecting with people, I think, is important.
Well, thanks so much for hosting me and inviting me.
Yeah, I feel like I know you because I just seeing you so much on social media and all the wonderful things you do, and um, your your imprint published Ari Honavar's book, which I loved, and she did a poem with me. I don't know, probably a couple of years ago now. So a girl called Rumi. For anyone who's interested, read it. And you have your own book.
I do. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have two books out. I have a novel out, and I have a book for writers called Imagine a Door that came out last month. So.
And did you write that? Is that the one you wrote with someone or no? Am I making that up in
No,
my
I
brain?
I interviewed over
Okay.
75 authors, editors,
Oh,
publishers, agents
yeah.
uh, over the 8 or 9 years I spent working on the book. So it's full of everybody's voices,
Yeah.
but the spine of it is my journey as a writer.
Okay. I need to read that. I love writing books on writing. It is such a journey writing a book.
It is, and so much of the time we have big feelings around the journey, and that's why I wrote my book. It was more, there's a lot of information about how to get published out there, but I wanted to dig into the feelings starting from the drafting of a book through looking for your publishing path.
Yeah. And I think it's yeah, there's so much pressure to show up in a certain way and for your product to show up in a certain way and for it to be a product.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's where art and capitalism intersect. And a lot of the time, the artist feels bad after that happens. It's a collision more than a collaboration art. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, my background is I have an MFA in film and television. So that is a really, like, commerce is a big part of it because they cost a lot of money to make. So you can't really just be like, oh, well, I'm just an artist. So I'm familiar with those waters, but I think this is different because it doesn't cost as much money. So I think people feel like, oh, this is art purely. It's like, no, someone still has to make it, pay for it, create
yeah,
it. And there are so many books in the world.
which is great. I love it. I'm all for everyone succeeding. I'm also all for everyone reading more
Yes,
because
I read a lot.
that helps everybody lift up.
Yeah, it was a very a while ago, probably 100 poems ago. I had an author on and I was like, yeah, I guess, some authors don't read. And she was just like, basically get out of town. Like, I don't have time for that, It's like, okay, fair. I mean, I guess some people don't read as much, but I was a reader first. So
Yeah, I've been a writer since I was in elementary school, so I guess I was a writer and a reader at the same
yeah,
time. Because as soon as I learned how to read, I learned how to write, or I taught myself. So
yeah. Well, they're both wonderful. So would you like to read your poem?
I would love to. Thank you for asking. I titled it "Only Child Archive." I am from music boxes, nickelodeons, and double bubble, the epoxy, not the gum. I am from the house with the pinball machines, lasers pew-pewing with every magna save, and the Black Knight will slay you, rallying my flipper skills. I am from Pachysandra, the safest place I know, where once I dug a hole to hide a wooden birdman from robbers. I'm from fresh baked gingerbread houses with icing that won't hold, and sawing off your own cast instead of waiting for the doctor. From Mildred and Jack, and Sally and Ken, and Mary Ellen and Tom. I'm from undiagnosed anxiety and good manners prompted by. From children should be seen and not heard, and if you spill your milk one more time. I'm from wind up toys unwound to keep their springs like new. The tiny car my dad built for his nephews in 1965, and shelves of glassy eyed automatons. I'm from a gas lamp lined street in suburban New Jersey, Vinny's Pizza, and Friday night spaghetti. My dad checking my ear protection, hooking up an air horn, and letting the honks crack the hush of good neighbors. Lace napkins never used, knotted into being by grands and great grands. Real tin tinsel, vulcaning made, hung once a year on the tree. Kodak color slides, carouseled but unlabeled. And as I become me, the family archive grows. I draw tropical fish. I write a play about a counting horse. They're filed with report cards and J.C. Penney portraits and newspaper clippings, then entire papers full of my bylines. My mother in her keeping, afraid to miss a word.
Yay!
Thank you.
Beautiful. Traveled to New Jersey with you. Gas lamp. It's amazing. I don't think of those being around. They still aren't there, are they?
They are still
Really?
there.
Oh no. That's special.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a real thing, or that it was special to our neighborhood until I grew up and realized that not everybody has gas lamps.
That's life for you. I mean, that's childhood.
Yeah,
We don't really know what it's unique about ours until later,
for
often.
sure.
And I mean, so did your parents make toys? Like you had a lot of very cool things in your house. Okay.
Collectors. They both had their own collections. My mom's were the wind up toys.
Okay.
And she only white knobs. If it was a different color knob, she would not.
Oh, interesting.
And on a very rare occasion, we would like all gather around the kitchen table and we would wind a few. But most of the time, they were not to be touched by children. These were collected.
Yeah, which was very, I feel like more rare I feel like there's a lot more collectors
Yeah,
now than there were
yeah.
then.
There were not that many back then.
Yeah.
Father restored air horns off of trains, and he would work, restore them and peel the rust off and
God.
tune by working with the diaphragm, so they would be tuned into appropriate musically sounding chords.
Wow.
And then he would invite his buddies over on Friday nights. It was only ever on a Friday night, and my dad had to cook. My mom refused on those nights. So he would spaghetti, and they would do air horn honks in our suburban backyard in the garage at an air compressor.
Oh, so did the neighbors enjoy that, or were they like this guy with his air horns?
Uh,
Mixed.
they enjoy. Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
that they tolerated
Yeah.
it. I think some like the neighbors would come over because they were into it,
Hmm.
but every once in a while, after if it went on long enough, the police would drive by. It's a very small urban town, and there is a train nearby, but not you don't hear it that close. So the cops would come sometimes and look around.
Right.
Um, I remember so clearly all these men in ear protection because my father would refuse to do it if people didn't bring their own
Hmm.
like industrial
Yeah.
grade phones. So yeah, and then I grew up with nickelodeons, and
Yeah.
my dad fixing up pinball machines that were broken,
Hmm.
storing them, and then he would, after we were done playing with them for a while, he would sell them and then get another one or two and fix those up. So the Black Knight was one of my favorites, and
Hmm.
one they still had when they moved out to Oregon in last year, 2 years ago. So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. So was your house a very popular one to visit
it
for your
was.
friends? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I would imagine just having pinball machines alone, but just the whole vibe seems special.
the basement was the Nintendo, the pinball
Hmm.
machines, and two
Wow.
jukeboxes. So
Wow.
the jukeboxes weren't as popular as I thought they would be. It turns out that when your entire musical taste is based on records from the 60s or maybe 70s, and you only know them from the record player, and you have friends over who actually listen to the radio, they don't actually know any of the songs.
That's funny. My mom did a lot of singing of oldies, so I would have been entertained by your
Yeah,
jukebox for
yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Um,
a lot of good songs on there, but it's so funny to think that those were the songs of my childhood, and other people were like, I don't, I, I don't know, I've never heard this before. Uh,
yeah, it's probably not quite a disconnect the way it is for me with how all the music I grew up with is now oldies. You know,
yeah,
it's like,
so
oh,
I mean, yeah, you heard in the grocery store.
it's like, oh, these are oldies, and my kids will play something like, listen to this, like, oh yeah,
Yep,
I heard that a lot when I was growing up.
yep,
Mm.
so
Well, what
funny.
was it like for you writing this? Was it, I don't know, as expected, or did you uncover things, or just what did you feel
It
like?
was, it was delightful. I've done a little bit of writing around the magic and the museum-like quality
Yeah.
of my and around the idea of artistic musical objects as stationary, waiting to be cranked or waiting to be turned on to
Yeah.
move. And how, as an only child, that was sort of my MO. I never volunteered. I never wanted to answer the door. I was very shy. And so, in some ways, I've always connected with the automatons, just sitting there like, here I am until someone turns the crank and then the automaton starts moving. Um, but some of the things that were interesting to me were thinking about the specifics of the Black Knight pinball game, and Firepower was the other one. I couldn't remember. I had to do a little digging, and then I looked up Black Knight sound effects
Oh
and
wow.
specialness, um, and Firepower too. So I went down those rabbit holes and just enjoyed remembering. And I also thought it was really interesting that the tinsel showed up in this.
Yeah.
That's not something I've written about before. I am actually not sure it's tin. It may very well be lead. We may have
I
lead.
actually was like, I don't think I know what that is when you read it, because often, particularly people who I'm close in age to, like, oh, that, it triggers a bunch of memories for me, but I don't think I know what that is.
So our tinsel was given to us when my parents bought their house, and
Hmm.
it's in a black brown cardboard box.
Hmm.
And inside there are all these layers of hand stripped tinsel that imagine taking a roll of aluminum foil
Hmm.
and cutting thin strips at a
Hmm.
1/4 inch
Hmm. Hmm.
and taking all those strips and folding them in half
Hmm.
and putting some wire on it to make it like a little bell shape, like a tassel. It's like a
Yeah.
tin
Yeah.
tassel.
Hmm.
And then connect it. wire on the top with a little wire hook. So that's how we hung tinsel on the tree, was because the Vulcaning family had made these tinsel ornaments.
Mm-hmm.
And we only ever used, I think, the top row of tinsel, maybe the top two rows, to preserve all the rest of the tinsel below for whoever, for the, because they were so special and nobody else knew what they were. And my mom wanted to preserve that artistry and not just use it up or
Mm-hmm.
make. So the ones on the top that we put on every year, some of them lost some of
Mm-hmm.
their tinsel.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them kind of got bent at strange angles,
Mm-hmm.
but you could always read them. And the ones underneath are just picture perfect, like they had just made. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I was doing some research trying to figure out, and figured I realized that they did make them out of tin, but they also did make them out of lead.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That was more common
yeah,
in general. I mean, the paint was made of
yeah,
lead or
oh
had lead in it.
yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed thinking about that.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? You talking about the sound effects of the Black Knight and what's on the internet and how, if you know what you're looking for, you can find the most magical. I don't, for me, it's been writing my memoir and having the ability to sort of fact check certain parts of my memory in a way that wouldn't have been possible before the internet.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Like, oh, this did happen on this
Yeah.
day. Like it was a Friday or whatever. It's because, memory is I mean, I don't think it's slippery, but it's kind of amorphous in some way. So I don't know. I find it very gratifying when the internet does good things.
Absolutely. I agree. It felt really good just to hear the Black Knight talk again. And because it's such a specific object, I found YouTube videos of a repair
Oh
person
God.
trying to repair it
Mm-hmm.
to say what it needed to say. And so I got to see the inside of it. And of course, like I said, my father, I remember he was always taking the pinball games apart and adjusting something or fixing something. So that brought back not just the memories of the game, but the memory of my dad at his
Yeah.
workbench. And
Yeah.
oh, those big glass displays on the front of pinball, he had
Yeah.
to remove that
Mm-hmm.
to work on the game and get it back to normal. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, those are amazing hobbies, you know. And that's something people are talking about more, the importance of hobbies, because so much of capitalism, we've ended up monetizing everything, that
Yeah,
there aren't these things that we just do for the joy of them in the same way. And yeah, it's special to hear about your parents' hobbies. So
yeah,
thank you for sharing.
they were very committed to them, and I was both part of the hobbying
Mhm.
and found my own collections, and I was also the one child in the house looking at my parents they loved and trying to figure out who they
Mhm.
are, who they were adults because of what they loved. And
Mhm.
so well, it felt really charming to write about the archive of their things and be
Mhm.
part of that archive as my creativity came into the world too. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I think hearing about it makes a lot of sense that you publish books like that. This thing that you love, you've you've turned it into something where you're helping others
Mhm.
share it with people. Like, I mean, it's just really, it's sweet. It's really lovely.
Thank you. And it's a commitment to an art form, much like my parents
Mm-hmm.
were
Mm-hmm.
just mechanical music and
Mm-hmm.
Nickelodeon player pianos and jukeboxes and slot machines and all the things
Slot
that
machines.
they're artifacts of culture or moments
Yeah.
in history people had made. In some ways, working with books and people's words is the same kind of intellectual tinkering. It's just a different medium. So I'm honored that I get to publish people's work.
And I think it's all love, right?
Yep, for sure. It's love based.
Yeah.
It's not for something
Mm.
besides love and the joy. And I wanted to get the joy into my poem. So
Yeah, it's there for sure. And I mean, Lynn Shattuck and I have been editing anthology that's coming out in June, and I feel very similarly about everyone's words that are in it. I feel such a responsibility and care for them, and um, and it's love for sure,
Mhm.
bringing these stories to people. So, and I think with that attitude, it's more sustainable for me too.
And it's
Uh,
also so much about trust, where you're
yeah.
trusting one writer trusting you, you're trusting the next writer, and they're trusting you. That collaboration, the partnership. Um, yeah, it's exciting. Congratulations on your anthology.
Oh, thank you. It's just something that I'm sure you know well. You work on something for a long time and you don't know where it will go and what it will all mean, but you just know that it's something you need to do.
Yep.
Um, so you got a comment from someone who I think is dear to you, the joy and the magic. They've been giving you lots of
Oh,
hearts too.
sweet. I've seen hearts, but
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah. So thank you for that. Yes, it is magic. And I think it is something that keeps us whole or helps us be whole to do these things in times that are very challenging, and to feel like what we're doing matters because we're champ oh god, I picked a word I have an impossible time saying, championing the stories of others. And I do keep believing that those stories matter, that if we believe in the importance of each other and our stories, that will help us somehow.
yeah.
So,
I agree. I have shut myself down and felt like my work with writers is too small
right.
to be effective in a current political moment. And in this current political moment, I have worked through that
Yeah.
baggage, and I am just doing work. I'm
Yeah.
head down,
Yeah.
volunteering, taking
Yeah.
care, planting food to feed my neighbors, and working on books because those voices need to be out there, and we need entertainment too.
We
It's not.
do. It's not just frivolous, it's actually life giving.
Yeah.
We need it. So,
Yep.
um, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, and thank you for joining me, Laura. I appreciate you taking the time. This was a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much, Allison. This was a blast. Have
Okay.
a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.